Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs of society. I can't wait till what the liberals call us next. But welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network and around the world on Al Gore's amazing internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, AM, FM 24/7, Leading Edge Radio Network, and now you can see us on the AUN TV network in California. Sharon, our next guest, is with us, and he's not actually a guest. He's an alumni of Conservative Commandos. Please welcome him to the show.
That's right, and that's why it's always a pleasure and an honor to introduce J.D. Gordon, who is a former Pentagon spokesman who served under Secretary Donald Rumsfeld and Secretary Robert Gates. He's also served as a senior fellow and advisor to numerous think tanks and foundations based in Washington, D.C. He's also a past contributor to FoxNews.com, The Washington Times, The Daily Caller, and The Hill. He's a career Navy public affairs officer and a retired commander, and he's been on-the-scene spokesman for numerous internationally noteworthy events over the past 20 years of active duty. JD, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Rick. Great to join you guys today. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you, JD. As always, we feel like you're a resident expert on many things having to do with the government, but today we've asked you on to talk about how government leakers and the media have waged war on Trump. This has just become an ongoing beating drum. It seems like we thought they'd settle down after the inauguration, but if anything, they've just gotten more crazy about this. Talk to us a little bit about this war on Trump, and are we ever going to see the end of it?
Sharon, thanks very much for having me on to talk about the ongoing assault against President Trump and associates. What we've seen is government leakers working with the media, complicit media, to leak information from classified and sensitive investigations. And basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to impeach President Trump, and they're trying to destroy as many associates as possible. Now, in addition to being a Pentagon spokesman in the past, I was a Pentagon spokesman for 4 years earlier on in my career during the Bush administration. But during the Trump campaign, I was the director of national security. And I tell you what, Sharon, my life has been a living hell the last 2 years because of these investigations. The special counsel and also 3 congressional investigations have turned my world upside down. I've incurred 5-figure legal bills, and a lot of that's just because of this smear campaign that we've seen against Justice Kavanaugh as well. The same thing that happened to Justice Kavanaugh has been going on for 2 years against President Trump and associates.
Now, when you talk about President Trump, we and his associates, we've also seen things against Sarah Saunders, and we are wondering, JD, does that come right to you? Have you been investigated? Have you had to lawyer up? In fact, to defend yourself?
Well, you know what? When I got interviewed by the special counsel a couple times last year, they told me that the entire Trump campaign's under investigation. So I said, does that mean me? Am I a target? They said, no, you're not a target, but the entire Trump campaign's under investigation. And so just because you're a witness, which I was, that doesn't mean you can't go to a subject or a target in a second. All you have to do is tell them something they think's false, and guess what? You become a target. Mm-hmm. That's why it's a shakedown, and that's why it's a witch hunt. And that's why several people are going to prison, because the special counsel has charged them for things that have nothing to do with the specified reason for the investigations, which was collusion. There's no collusion, but were there past financial crimes for some people in the past, like Paul Manafort and Rick Gates? Yeah. Were there people that were strong-armed into making false statements, or at least acknowledging making false statements to the FBI? Yeah, General Flynn and George Papadopoulos. But this is a shakedown, Sharon. It has nothing to do with the stated reason for these investigations, which was collusion with Russia to see if there was anything nefarious regarding the campaign and the Russians regarding the election. And there wasn't any. However, they still are sending people to prison for other things.
Well, I'm not an attorney, so I can't say that, if this is illegal or not, but maybe I can just get your opinion. It seems to me when the police get a search warrant to come into my house to search me on a certain matter, if they find something else, they have to go back and get another search warrant before they can charge me with another crime. Isn't that similar to what they're doing here? They're going in on a search for one thing, but when they're finding other things, they're charging on those other things.
Well, that's what they're doing. And you know what? They knew from the get-go, as we're finding out, thank goodness, due to some patriots in Congress that are really digging into this, like Jim Jordan and Devin Nunes and others. Thank goodness they're digging into this. And what we're finding is that the Democrats were in cahoots with former British intelligence agent Christopher Steele, in cahoots with Glenn Simpson of this Fusion GPS, a former Wall Street Journal writer, and his company, and they knew there was no collusion. But they still went ahead anyway to try to remove President Trump, to stop him from being elected, number one, but then to try to remove him and to try to destroy as many people as possible. So, yeah, that's what they're doing, Sharon. They basically say that we're going to investigate a group of people, like the mafia, for instance. They're treating us like the mafia. And then if they find something else, you go to prison for that. If they could have nailed me to the wall, Sharon, they would have, trust me, because they've had about 50 Trump associates go before the special counsel and congressional committees, and anybody that had any hint of wrongdoing, oh yeah, they crucified him.
The American people, JD, want to end corruption in government. We all understand that there is corruption in government. We want to end it, but it seems like in some of these investigations, there's maybe even a backfire. We're finding out things about corruption in government that maybe they weren't really wanting to uncover when they went in with this, as you call, witch hunt.
That's right, Sharon. It's basically become a circular firing squad. You had people who thought that they were running the country, like James Comey. He was playing God. James Comey was a FBI director that's going to go down in history, I think, as one of the worst, most nefarious people, because he's the one who targeted people like me, innocent people like me, by telling the whole country that the entire Trump campaign's under investigation for ties to Russia, but then he wouldn't say who. So what the media did, like CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post and the New York Times, is they flashed my picture everywhere because I shook the Russian ambassador's hand at a speech I gave to 50 ambassadors. And they tried to say I was guilty too in the press because James Comey led them to believe it because he wouldn't rule me out. And so that's criminal on Comey's part. I mean, if anybody goes to prison in this after Manafort and Gates, it ought to be Comey. And people like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page as FBI lover, people who set Trump up, people who set Trump and associates up for trying to get discredited and destroyed in the media. These people would be called coup plotters in most countries. And it's not just them. There's people in the media that have committed crimes against us, like Roz Helderman of the Washington Post. She was an accessory to a felony against me because she was getting these leaks from these congressional committees about me from sensitive and classified investigations and literally putting them on the front page of the Washington Post. My civil rights have been violated. I think that Roz Helderman should face the consequences.
Well, they face the consequences. I guess that's my next question. You said there ought to be people going to prison, and we, the American people, see that. We would like to see justice done, but do you think they will go to prison?
I hope so. I sincerely hope that the Justice Department, under leadership that they will have eventually, will basically have the grit and the will to pursue these prosecutions because they need to, and Congress needs to keep on them. If Congress doesn't keep on them, they won't do it for sure.
Well, you just said a mouthful there. When we have the leadership in the DOJ that we should have, is that coming? I mean, it doesn't look like it to us out here. Jeff Sessions has survived when others haven't.
Well, it breaks my heart because, you know, he's one of the most honorable people I've ever met in my life, let alone worked with. He was the director of he was the chairman of the National Security Advisory Committee, and so I had worked for him on the campaign. But the thing is, he is put in a position where he's backed into a corner at DOJ. He really can't do anything. He recused himself from Russia, and he really has been marginalized, unfortunately. But eventually, President Trump will be able to pick somebody that can really get tough on the people who have attacked me and who have attacked President Trump. People like James Comey and Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Bruce Orr at DOJ. We need tough leadership at the DOJ, not people that are backed into a corner and really removed from the process.
So when is eventually? After the 2018 election, before the 2020 election, after the 2020 election? When will we see this eventually good, hard-hitting leadership at the DOJ?
I would think that right after the elections, but I don't know. I haven't talked to President Trump about it. Don't know. But I feel terrible, and I'm sure that the Attorney General feels terrible, too. He's a patriot, and I'm sure he knows it's horrific, the hell I've been put through. And he knows the hell I've been put through, and the hell a lot of innocent people have been put through. But unfortunately, he can't do anything about it. He's powerless to do anything about it because he was part of the campaign. He accepted the job as Attorney General, but then since he was part of the campaign and it was under investigation, he technically had to recuse himself. So it's just a tragedy, and I'm sure he feels terrible about it.
Now, I want to shift just a little bit because we've been watching the character assassination, the reputation of a good man, Brett Kavanaugh, just being trashed. And many people believe that stuff still. How do you get your good name back? J.D. Gordon, I believe that your name has been trashed as well. How do you get your good name back, even if people go to prison?
Well, that's the key, Sharon. I don't think you can. It's near impossible. I mean, what we have to do as a country is come to the realization that a lot of innocent people have been smeared unfairly, like Judge Kavanaugh, now Justice Kavanaugh, like me, like dozens of other people on the Trump team who have been brought before the special counsel and committees. How do you get your reputation back when you're just smeared constantly? If you Google us, and even Google's part of the plot. I mean, they put the bad stories up top. I mean, so it's like fighting a gang. I mean, could you imagine if MS-13 took over the country in some ways, or the Bloods or Crips or the Mafia? That's sort of what happened in some ways. I hate to say, the United States is not the United States that I grew up believing it was. We've become closer to a banana republic than anything else is as far as our politics and law goes. And good and innocent people like me have just been smeared and skewered in the public square. It's horrible. I never thought this would happen in America, but yeah, here we are.
Well, it's been happening, and of course that was a very personal question that I asked because I got the smear in 2010. I'm still living with it. I can't seem to get my good name back, but right now we have to go to a break. We're talking with J.D. Gordon about leaks and smears and just the constant war on Trump. We'll be right back after this short break. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, and now you can watch our TV show on AUN TV Network in San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Wine Country, Redding, Chico, Sacramento, Monterey, California, and soon in Carson City, Tahoe, and Reno, Nevada. We'll be right back with my co-host, Rick Trader. I'm Sharon Engel, and our guest, J.D. Gordon.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America, where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you. And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and a little, and yours truly, Rick Drader. Our guest this segment is a dear friend of ours, J.D. Gordon, a former Pentagon spokesman, served with Secretaries Donald Rumsfeld and Robert Gates. He was an advisor to Herman Cain, Mike Huckabee, Donald Trump, and he also worked with Governor Sarah Palin. But with all that, JD's most notable accomplishment is he was a co-host here on Conservative Commandos Radio. I say that in jest. JD, thank you for holding through that break. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rick. It's an honor. Always great to come back to Conservative Commandos Radio.
You know, JD, you and I are friends. We've known each other probably as long as I've been doing this show. It's going on 10 years now. You started out here as a guest, and you have been a co-host here. I know you as a very good man, JD, and through all the trials and tribulations that you have been through, you've been in my thoughts and prayers. And I've tried to put you in my, I try to put me in your place, which I cannot do. And you talked about how these allegations have led to 5-figure legal bills and things like that. But JD, friend to friend, can you talk a minute about how this has affected you and your family personally? Like, for instance, I know you had to delete your Facebook account, your Twitter account. I talked to you today about doing a Skype video interview with us today. You had to delete that. But talk about how it's affected J.D. Gordon and his family.
Well, it's destroyed my life over the last couple of years. You know, I thought I had a pretty successful life. I was a former Pentagon spokesman, a retired Navy commander, a senior fellow with some think tanks, columnist, TV commentator. I was very happy. You know, I used to travel around the United States and Europe and give speeches and spoke at different parliaments, spoke at Congress. My life was pretty good. But then when I joined the Trump campaign as a director of national security, the knives came out for me. And then after he won, you know, it's ironic to say that was probably the worst day of my life. Because then about 1,000 people were out to crucify me. And then I didn't really think that could be true, but it was true. Because basically I was getting lied about by members of Congress like Adam Schiff, to the entire country. I had the FBI director, James Comey, go after me and about 50 of my colleagues, and he knew most of us were innocent, but he didn't care. He cast a cloud over all of us. It ruined my life, 5-figure legal bills. Thank God that Michael Caputo, one of my colleagues on the campaign, paid my legal bills because he had such a terrible situation. He was looking at $100,000 in legal bills for nothing, absolutely nothing, just a smear campaign against him. So he had a GoFundMe page, and due to great exposure on talk radio, places like Rush Limbaugh and Hannity, he was able to raise $350,000. Thank God, and thanks to his grassroots supporters. Michael Caputo paid my legal bills. But I didn't get a job in the administration. I was up for some senior posts in the administration, including an ambassadorship. I didn't get that because when people are talking about you on CNN as if you're going to be indicted, well, no one wants to nominate you for anything if they think you're going to be indicted. So I lost all my opportunities to go in the administration.
Well, JD, as I said, you and I are friends, and when you were going through all this, I felt horrible because I know what kind of man you were. I really do. And you know, beyond the legal bills and things, I thought about you even trying to sleep at night. You know, that had to be hard. The personal relationships that you've built up over a lifetime and how they and you were affected by all of this. I just can't imagine, JD.
Oh, it's horrible. You know, I've had family members disown me, too.
Oh, my God.
Just because I worked for Trump. Oh, yeah, because they hate Trump so much. I've got disinvited from a lot of the social circuit things I used to go to in D.C. I was always on the embassy circuit at different places. I got disinvited all across town. I still go to some, but it's very rare. I've lost clients. I've lost work. I've lost income. It's just been devastating. You know, what's happened to Justice Kavanaugh, the entire country saw it unfold the last 2 weeks. Well, that's been happening to me for 2 years. Now, it hasn't been as salacious. You know, they said I met with the Russians. Yeah, I shook the Russian ambassador's hand at a speech I gave at the Republican National Convention, and I was also instrumental in advising delegates at the GOP platform that we didn't want to arm Ukraine because Mr. Trump didn't want to arm Ukraine. Neither did President Obama, by the way. But yet the media and members of Congress spun it into a way that was perversely not what it was. They tried to make it seem nefarious, and it wasn't at all. But that's what they do. They lie, they leak, they prevaricate, and they all try to character assassinate you. That's what it's about. Just like Sharon was mentioning how she was character assassinated too when she ran for Senate in Nevada. All these horrible things were said about her, and there's still a lot of terrible things you could read about her, and terrible things that people say. She probably got stalkers. I got 4 stalkers. I had to file 4 complaints with the FBI against stalkers to protect me and my family. Yeah, exactly. It's horrible. So this
all
is the type of stuff that happens.
All because you shook an ambassador's hand.
Yeah, because the media lie all the time.
Hey, JD, you know, speaking of the media, and by the way, what you're telling me and what Sharon tells me, I always think about Raymond Donovan, who was in the Reagan administration, was indicted, went through a trial, was found not guilty. I'll never forget what he said when he walked out of the courtroom door. Which office do I go to get my reputation back? You know, JD, what I wanted to talk with you now about is, as you said, you testified before, 4 committees?
3 committees and the special counsel.
Would you talk for a minute about the leaks? You know,
absolutely.
Please.
Absolutely. Well, leaks have been somewhat regular from the congressional committees, some of them worse than others. Yet I've told some things to congressional committees that didn't leak. So it's not a slam dunk. It's not like you go in there and they leak everything. It's not that way.
Well, nothing should be leaked, JD. Nothing should be, in my opinion.
But nothing. You're right. Nothing. They're all felonies. You're right. Nothing should be leaked from these investigations. But the people who had it the worst, as far as these leaks go, are President Trump, his family, like Don Jr. and Jared, and also people like Carter Page and George Papadopoulos, who were really peripheral members of the campaign. They were members of an advisory committee, of which I was the director. But it was criminal what happened to people like President Trump, his family, Carter Page, and George Papadopoulos. A lot of leaks. Now, in my case, I talked to the special counsel twice last summer. And after the first time I talked to them, it's supposed to be private testimony. And what happened is the very next day, Roz Helderman from the Washington Post, an investigative reporter, calls me up and says, "Hey, JD, I heard the special counsel's interested in a certain topic that had come up." And I says, "Where are you hearing that information?" She says, "I can't reveal my sources." And I'm like, "Well, I know who your sources are, the special counsel." And I'm like, I'll call them right away. And I called the two agents who did the investigation, who did my testimony. I said, "Hey, guys, I thought this is supposed to be private. Do you want me to go leaking that you leaked to the public, because that's going to backfire on you guys?" And they said, "No, we can assure you it wasn't us leaking, but we'll talk to our supervisors." So
What?
I don't know, who. Yeah, that's what they'll talk to their supervisors. It wasn't them personally.
Mackerel.
But you know who the person was signing subpoenas for us? Jeannie Rhee. Jeannie Rhee was Ben Rhodes' lawyer. Ben Rhodes was the Deputy National Security Advisor to President Obama. So here it is, Ben Rhodes, the Deputy National Security Advisor to Obama. His lawyer, Jeannie Rhee, is the person signing subpoenas for people like me and others to appear before the special counsel. Robert Mueller has a lot of hardcore Democrat donors on his team. I mean, that's who most of the prosecutors are. This is like a hit job against Team Trump. I mean, that's what it is. It's a hit job. And unfortunately, they didn't nail me because there was nothing to get me for. But don't think they didn't ask tough questions. Don't think they didn't.
Why didn't they just make it up like they did on Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, yeah, I know. Little bit different there, but yeah, a lot of people made up stuff about Brett Kavanaugh. The special counsel didn't, of course, and the special counsel I don't think made up anything on anyone, except they said they were going to go after people for collusion, but it was basically a shakedown of anything and everything they could find on about 50 people that were on Team Trump. It was a total shakedown, and unfortunately, at least 4 are going to prison. Manafort, Gates, Flynn, and Papadopoulos, for nothing to do with collusion. So this is a hardcore team, the special counsel. I just hope they wrap up the investigation soon.
Yeah. J.D. Gordon, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the Conservative Commandos. I want to apologize for America for what you and your family have been put through. I think it's a disgrace. And when you talk about things, kind of reminds me of the lesson that we got from Barack Obama. He says, never go to a knife fight with a knife, take a gun. I mean, what can I say? I would love to see Republicans fight back. I'm glad you fought back. JD, please tell our audience how they can follow your work, what you do, and maybe even help you, JD.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, they could donate to Michael Caputo's legal fund because he paid my legal bills, and I'm still trying to help him as much as possible. So it's the Michael Caputo Legal Fund. It's a GoFundMe page. And I still am on Twitter. I had to get rid of Facebook and other social media thanks to a number of factors, but I still am on Twitter. Jeffrey_Gordon is my Twitter handle, and I still write for outlets like the Daily Caller and the Hill and the Washington Times.
Well, JD, you always have a voice here. You know that, right?
I do. Thanks, and God bless you, Rick. Thanks for having me on and having the ability to talk about it and what's happening to America. Americans need to know what's happening in Washington. It's horrific.
Absolutely, they need to know. They need to know what government or the rogue branches of government or the political hacks of a previous administration have done to good people. It's just disgusting. I don't think there should be any place for that. I mean, if you want to disagree politically, that's one thing, but to ruin innocent people's lives, that's something else. I wouldn't want our side to do it to their side, but it's
we don't. We don't. That's what one of Stephen Colbert's writers put on Twitter the other day. Well, at least we ruined Brett Kavanaugh's life. I mean, that's how they think.
Unbelievable. J.D. Gordon, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thanks, Rick. You too, and Sharon as well. God bless.
We always have a home here with us.
Absolutely.
I'm going to come back
Thank
as
you,
a
Karen.
co-host.
Thanks, guys.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We will be right back after this break with more.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
Together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And we're also part of the AUN TV network in Northern California. Please check out our website for station locations and times. And Sharon Angle, we do have our first guest of the day with us. Please make the introduction.
Well, it's an honor for me to be able to introduce Michael R. Caputo, who is a political strategist and a media consultant. Michael is the managing director of Caputo Public Relations and provides strategic counsel to clients. Michael has 30 years of global communications experience with government, political campaigns, trade associations, and Fortune 500 corporations. He became enamored of Ronald Reagan while serving in the military. He worked for the Reagan administration with Oliver North. He also served as Director of Media Services on the campaign for President George H.W. Bush and was advisor to now President Donald Trump during the 2016 campaign. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Michael.
Thanks a lot for inviting me, you guys. It's my pleasure.
Well, it's always our pleasure to have you, Michael. And we wanted to talk to you about a thing that you're doing, you're talking about the Russian hoax and that it's all about impeachment, and you've been doing this kind of as a circuit speaking tour with our friend J.D. Gordon. Talk to us a little bit about what prompted you to do something like that, and also about the Russian hoax and why it's all about impeachment.
Well, like most people in America, I first met J.D. Gordon when he was a spokesman for the Pentagon, and he then retired from the Navy and I ended up on the same campaign as me on the Trump for President campaign. And while we didn't intersect a lot, he was in the Washington office and I was in the Trump Tower office. Both of us got caught up in the bogus Russia investigation. And J.D. himself was the supervisor of Carter Page and George Papadopoulos. So you can imagine how all the Democrats wanted to haul him in front of the lights. And I was a communications guy in Trump Tower working for Paul Manafort and Rick Gates. So I got hauled in, and we both ended up racking up really big legal bills. And I was really blessed to get a lot of attention from donors on my GoFundMe effort, and I ended up raising enough money to pay my legal bills and was able to also pay JD's legal bills and a few other people. And while that whole thing was going on, JD and I started talking about how more people needed to hear about how this Russian hoax was affecting just normal people. I mean, JD and I are just witnesses in this whole bogus investigation. And it still, cost me, it's going to end up about $200,000 in legal fees.
Wow.
JD had some high legal fees as well. And he's just a retired Navy commander. And I'm a guy who lives in a little village outside of Buffalo, New York. It's these lawyers who are able to fend off political attacks from partisan Democrats. They're not cheap. And so we started talking about how the people of America had to understand that this Russian hoax is really not just about destroying the president, destroying his family, destroying his businesses, and destroying people like me and and JD and many others who've been dragged through this mess. It's also really, in the end, about impeachment of the President of the United States. They found no evidence of Russian collusion, but they're not going to stop until they concoct something that a Democrat House could use to impeach the President of the United States. So from our perspective, it's really about the midterm elections.
Well, it seems like it has been a hoax from the beginning, and we've been able to see that, but we really couldn't see the motivation. So how does this work? They talk about Russia, but since most of the people know this, there's no there. How did they get from there to impeachment? Talk about the trail.
Well, we had a long discussion at a speaking engagement, JD and I, here in the Sarasota area in Florida today. We're going to be at other engagements in Naples, Florida, and Fort Myers, Florida this week, and going on to speak at other places together onward. And, what we're telling folks, I think it's very interesting to note that when you try to talk about what is the definition of a high crime and misdemeanor, that's what's required to impeach the President of the United States. They must, impeachment is basically an indictment for high crimes and misdemeanors. Most Americans don't know the definition of high crime and misdemeanor is whatever the majority of the House of Representatives says it is. So this partisan Democrat crew that's out there now, the same group of people who impugned the good character of Brett Kavanaugh and tried to destroy him and his reputation and his family, screaming at the top of their lungs and running up and down the halls of Congress, putting even senators in danger. These are the people who are going to decide what high crime and misdemeanor means. And that could be, jaywalking, as far as I'm concerned. They're going to be able to, all you have to do is look at what his former attorney, Michael Cohen, pled guilty to, some kind of a bogus campaign finance allegation that has been tried and failed in the court in the past. But, that in and of itself could be enough to try to impeach the President of the United States. If the Democrats win the House of Representatives on November 6th, I can guarantee you they will make a definition of high crimes and misdemeanors fit whatever they want so that they will impeach the President of the United States.
It seems like it would have to be a fairly high bar, though, because we couldn't get there with Bill Clinton. And there was obviously something had happened there. He obviously lied, so he perjured himself. There was a crime there. So there should have to be a crime, shouldn't there be? Or you think, no, it doesn't really have to be a crime at all?
It didn't seem to really matter with Brett Kavanaugh, did it? Just a mere allegation was enough for them to try and ruin him. They failed at that, but that's a dry run. That is a dress rehearsal for what they're going to do to the President of the United States if they take the House of Representatives on November 6th. That's why every Republican who's hearing my voice needs to understand, if they are thinking of not taking their lunch hour to go vote on November 6th, or they're not going to wake up early to go vote on their way to work because the president is not on the ballot, he is on the ballot. Because it really, the presumption of innocence, the sacrosanct tenet of our constitutional republic and our rule of law was thrown absolutely out by the Democrats in the Brett Kavanaugh hearing. And it really won't matter what they come up with for the President of the United States. They will impeach him, whether it's on some bogus campaign finance charge or something else. We probably aren't going to lose the Senate, so we're not going to lose the President. He won't be found guilty of these charges if he is impeached. But his agenda will be completely stalled. His foreign policy will be completely stalled. And the great economy that we've built under President Trump will surely turn around.
Well, I'm glad that you made that distinction about impeachment, that the impeachment itself is not enough to remove the president from office. It must be the charge is brought through the impeachment from the House, and then the Senate has to declare him guilty or not guilty, and it's their declaration that actually removes him or keeps him in office. So I'm glad you made that point, Michael. We are talking to Michael Caputo, a political strategist and an advisor to President Trump, who has been brought up on trumped-up charges, if you will. He has been having to defend his own good name and that of some of his colleagues, specifically J.D. Gordon. I want to go on to the elections a little bit. We know that the Supreme Court tossed a lawsuit out that was brought by the Native American groups in North Dakota challenging the state's new photo ID voter law. And we know that it's because Americans across the country, the government may be in denial about election fraud, but the heartland of America is not. They know that it exists, and they are completely aware of the +3 effect that, they used to laugh about it in Chicago. Just get close, and we can deliver that +3 fraudulent vote and put you over the top. So talk a little bit about the elections coming up. Well, do you think that will be a factor in any of the races that are close?
I believe so. I think that, the Democrats scoff like this doesn't exist, just like they swore that the Russian collusion was a terrible problem in this country. The Democrats and the mainstream media that's in cahoots with them have been laughing about a non-existent voter fraud for years. But it exists. It absolutely does. We see evidence now and then, and each individual state is trying to find a way to deal with it, especially those states that have a significant Republican presence in their legislatures and their governor's houses. Now, I believe that in places like Philadelphia and Chicago, we all know it's legendary that there is voter fraud, and a lot of the voter fraud that takes place, they find it here and there, and then they hide it. But in these close districts, they're all, by the way, in these purple districts, the closest races in the House in 2018 are the districts that are 25 of the districts where House Republicans are in trouble were won by Hillary Clinton in 2016. So these purple districts are mostly in suburban areas of the larger cities. Many of them are, like Denver and other ones. And it's those urban areas where a lot of this voter fraud is going on. I think we all got to keep an eye out on it, and we have to be vigilant on putting these measures in place, strong measures to fight voter fraud, like voter ID, that can withstand the legal challenges that the left keeps bringing.
Well, living here in a purple state of Nevada, we've seen this time and time again. In fact, I believe in 2010 that our margin was 9.3%. So unless you could be above the 10% mark, you were going to lose an election. And now we have 2 House seats and a Senate seat here, and they're only ahead of their Democrat opponent by 2 points, which means they lose. We need to take a break, Michael. We'll be right back. I know that Rick has some great questions for you on the other side. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM FM 24/7. We'll be right back.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us in Tampa, Jacksonville, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder in Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California. Indeed, we are everywhere. We are everywhere. Our guest this segment is Michael Caputo. He's a political strategist and media consultant, and he, with our very good friend J.D. Gordon, is right now talking to people out in the hinterland about the Russian hoax is all about impeachment. Michael, thank you for holding through that break. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, of course.
Michael, you talked about the importance of these midterm elections, the 2016 elections, some of the ramifications that could come from it. And Michael, I got to be honest with you, all this mess that we went through with Kavanaugh, I think in the end was actually a blessing for conservative and Republican candidates.
Yeah, who knew, right?
Who knew?
If I look back on it now, and we were also, so absolutely devoted to getting him confirmed as fast as possible. Right. I'm kind of wishing we'd waited another week because the real risk now is that we keep this enthusiasm going. The average Independent and Republican were disgusted by the treatment of Justice Kavanaugh and his family at the hands of the radical Democrats and the mob mentality that surrounded those confirmation hearings. And they really there was a real enthusiasm gap for the midterms. It was worrisome for all of us who are in political strategy. The Democrats' intensity index was like at 85%, and the Republicans were just barely over 60, and that's a real problem for Republicans. But in the aftermath of this terrible attack on Brett Kavanaugh, we're both in the 80s now. We are dead tied. The Republicans are just as motivated as Democrats, which we hope can really help turn the tide for the Republicans on November 6th.
You know, Michael, I think there was something else that went on during the Kavanaugh hearings that I thought was also a help. I thought it was also a benefit to the right. And that was all the crazy demonstrations and all the protesters. You know, the people chasing senators down the hall, screaming at them. The protesters that were literally scratching at the door of the Supreme Court and climbing the stairs and climbing the statues. Michael, I'm glad that was shown. I wish more of that was shown. Because, you know, you're not going to change the minds of the people on the right or the people on the left. But Middle America, the moderates, I'm glad they saw that in hopes that they would not want to be associated with that lunatic fringe called the Democrat Party.
It's true. It's true. And it's important for everybody to understand that this is not the fringe. This is the mainstream of the Democratic Party right now. These people were this was a coordinated attack on Justice Kavanaugh, and a coordinated attack that was run by none other than Chuck Schumer as the head of the Senate Democrats. And it went all the way down into the tiny little groups that were organizing people to scream and run up and down the hallway. It was very organized. This is the mainstream of Democrat America. And if they take over the House of Representatives, what we saw during the Kavanaugh confirmation process will be every day of our lives in 2019, 2020, every single day. And you can bet these same crazy people who are trying to scratch their ways through the metal front doors of the United States Supreme Court are going to be out to impeach the president before the end of the school year in the spring of 2019.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Michael Caputo. He's a very good friend of ours, our own J.D. Gordon, who's an alumni co-host here on Conservative Commandos. Michael, as you and Sharon were talking about, and we've been discussing, that this Russian collusion story was all about impeachment. Let's talk about impeachment for a moment. You mentioned Trump. You mentioned Kavanaugh, but I don't think they're going to stop there, Michael. They may even go after Clarence Thomas.
Oh, I think everything's on the table if the Democrats take the House of Representatives. You didn't have to look any further than Representative Jerry Nadler from the city of New York. He laid out a whole bunch of investigations and talked about potential impeachment. They're not going to stop at the president.
Right.
They will definitely go on to Kavanaugh. And
they will go on to Kavanaugh. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they also went after Clarence Thomas. You know, Michael, it was interesting to me that they still had their undies in a bunch about Clarence Thomas. And Clarence Thomas has been on the court since 1991. But yet, you know, they kept comparing Kavanaugh to Justice Thomas and the whole Anita Hill thing. Those people don't forget.
I know, they don't. And you're absolutely right. I think Clarence Thomas is on the bubble as well.
Yes.
But here's the interesting thing about history and about long memories. This is the irony of all of this. Remember that Robert Bork was nominated in 1987 by President Reagan, and they went after him in almost as badly as they went after Brett Kavanaugh. And he had the opportunity to drop out before the vote in the Senate, and he said that would set a bad precedent, so I'm not going to do that. And he went through a vote, and he was turned down by the United States Senate. And so President Reagan eventually nominated, first of all, Ginsburg, who was pushed away, And then, of course, he nominated the very justice that Kavanaugh was there to replace, right?
Yes.
And if they had gone with Bork, Robert Bork passed away, God rest his soul, in 2012. If they had not Bork, this Kavanaugh nomination would have been President Obama's nomination.
Ooh.
Because Kennedy held on for a lot longer than 2012, retired, so that the president could nominate Kavanaugh. This would have been Obama's appointment if they hadn't gone after the character of Robert Bork. This is karma, and they got Kavanaugh.
You know, Michael, one other thing I wanted to ask you, do you still have much contact with the president?
I don't. Last time I spoke to the president was Inauguration Day, and I was due to go into the White House to speak to him when the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence had a televised hearing in March of 2017 where they brought me and my family, even talking about my wife, publicly accusing me of being connected to Putin. I knew from that point forward that I couldn't be on the president's call list. And one day when this is all over, I hope to be back and have a sit down and a chat with him, because I've known the president since 1988. I started working with him on his political strategy in 2013. You know, as a New Yorker, he was a big part of our political lives. And I feel, the best for me to stay out of his call list because of the Mueller investigation.
Right.
But when it's over, I look forward to sitting with him again.
Well, I look forward to that. What I was going to say is I think another really good thing came out of this whole Kavanaugh mess. The end of the Never Trumpers.
It's interesting how that happened, right? I mean, it's diluted a lot of the vitriol because they were all Kavanaugh people. Right. Down to a man and a woman, every one of them was. And they saw that the president stood up with a backbone that we haven't seen in a president since Ronald Reagan. Stood up. You remember, President Reagan stood by Robert Bork. Any other president since Reagan would have told Kavanaugh he's got to pull out. But President Trump refused to do so. And then you saw Chairman Grassley become a hero, and Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham, of all people.
Amazing.
Susan Collins, of all people. You know, really,
you know why they did it?
What? I'm sorry, Michael?
The reason they did it was because the president inspired them with his leadership and with his spine. This wouldn't have happened under any president in recent years.
Michael Caputo, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Michael, I want to personally thank you for helping a very good man, a very dear friend of mine, a very dear friend of Sharon's, and that's J.D. Gordon.
Well, he's a good man.
He is,
and he deserves that help as a veteran.
He didn't deserve to have his life. And we had J.D. on last week, and he talked about how these accusations has crushed his life. And I cannot imagine what people like you and J.D. Gordon and others have went through over this idiot stuff about Russian collusion. My God, you talk about Russian collusion. Let's talk about Hillary Clinton. That's where the real Russian collusion was. Hillary Clinton, when she was Secretary of State, okayed the sale of 20% of her uranium reserves. And then the same company gave Bill Clinton $500,000 to do a speech in Moscow. You know, let's talk about real Russian collusion. Hey, Mike, I'm sorry I brought that up because we really have to go. We're up against a hard break. But Michael Caputo, please tell our audience how they could follow your work and even help you in your continued campaign, for a fundraising campaign to find money to defend yourselves, the people that were brought up in all this.
My legal fund is CaputoLegalFund.com. Caputo, C-A-P-U-T-O, LegalFund.com. That's where we're raising money for people like myself and J.D. Gordon to pay our legal bills. But also I do a pretty active podcast at StillStandingRadio.com, video and audio for anybody who's interested. I'm also on CNN a lot when they outrun me.
When they outrun you. Michael Caputo, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to have you with us. Take care and God bless.
God bless you. Thank you very much.
And you are listening and watching to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
Together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty.
Liberty Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcasts, please check out our website, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Hey, Nasser, we have our next guest with us. Please welcome him to the show.
Thanks, Rick. We have Mr. Sam Nunberg, who's both an accomplished attorney as well as a political strategist. He's worked on successful presidential and senatorial campaigns. In 2008, he was an advisor to Governor Mitt Romney. From 2011 to 2015, Sam served as a political and public affairs advisor to then President-elect Donald Trump. He focuses on strategic messaging, speech writing, policy, as well as conservative and political media outreach. Previously, Mr. Nunberg has served as a political deputy director to the American Center for Law and Justice. Sam, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's an honor to be on.
Well, great. Well, we wanted to sort of get your take on a quote that you had on this migrant caravan in the New York Times, and give us a sense of, you're in media messaging. You try to get the message out, obviously, of your candidate. So give us an idea as to what do you think is happening from the other side, from the left stream media, the mainstream media. What do you think their messaging is really trying to be at, and how are we, or how would you try to combat this in the next 15 days going into the midterm elections?
Well, that's a great question. And I think, I've done a lot of interviews, and you're the first to ask me that, and it's an important question. Because I think where we got to this is you have to remember the caravan issue. One of the reasons I believe that they are strategically doing this caravan now, these illegal immigrants trying to get into our country, is because of the midterms. While they may not get to the border by November 6th, they view this as looking as like a quote unquote humanitarian issue where they should be allowed into our country. They're only looking for a better future. They're here to do jobs Americans don't want to do. We've heard it all before. And what they also want to do is they want to say that they want to be part of the American dream. What you're going to hear from the other side is the people that are open, the Democrats that are open about their position, is they would say that under these humanitarian circumstances, if we're able to vet these people properly, of course we want them in our country. And, these people will be strong. They'll make our country stronger. And welcome everybody that wants to embrace the American dream. It's un-American, as Barack Obama would say, to put up a wall. Now, I'm speaking to you, and you gentlemen are in California, and you're airing in California. This issue has strategically changed the direction of the immigration argument even now. Because what had happened earlier in the year, as you remember, when we had a so-called crisis at the border, and they claimed that there was child separation. It wasn't direct. They weren't going to be permanently separated from their parents. That is a fact. I don't want to go into the details. But what happened was the same way that the Democrats overplayed their hand with Kavanaugh, left to their own devices, they showed their true colors. And you had 2020 candidates such as Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, Christian Gillibrand, rising stars of the Democrat Party, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and your own Gavin Newsom running for governor. They all said they wanted to eliminate ICE. They all said that not only did they want to eliminate ICE, they wanted to allow all these illegal immigrants immediately into the country. And what they also wanted to do was, of course, not give wall funding to this president or border security. What had happened after that was we had seen a shift in messaging. I work as an advisor to Steve Bannon, former White House strategist. The group is Citizens of the American Republic. We have a movie we'd like people to watch. I hope I could plug it here. Trump at War.
Please do.
Trump at War. Trump at War. You can
I'll tell you what, Sammy, also send me the trailer. We'll run the trailer on our show.
Fantastic. I'll do that after.
Great.
And what had happened was, when we've done our research on this, was you had a generic congressional ballot of 49-40. When you got into whether the Democrats take over, they would impeach the president, abolish ICE, fund sanctuary cities. The race dramatically shifted to a toss-up generically. But what it has done in California, and I want to give a message to California Republicans. You have not had an opportunity like this since 1988, the last time a Republican presidential candidate won your state. This election you cast, if you get out and you protect those 14 Republican House seats, you have 53 House seats. You know where the other 39, including Nancy Pelosi, God forbid she's Speaker again, you know where they stand on immigration. If you are able to protect those 14 seats, you will have saved the Trump presidency, and you will have saved our borders. You will have saved the direction of our country where we go, because a country without borders is no country at all, and that's not just a soundbite. And Donald Trump and the Republican Party has made this a threshold issue and a common sense, simple issue. You're either for border enforcement, for the rule of law, for legal immigration, or you're for chain migration, illegal immigration, and all the not only economic problems it leads to, but even worse, the crime.
Sam put it absolutely perfectly. And, here the left, the alt-left, the left-stream media, the Democratic State Party media, they are so good at hitting the emotional button, because we Americans, we have a heart. Everybody in flyover country, at least I believe, has got a heart.
Right.
And when they see children and women, I'm a father, I've got children. I feel, but you know what? We can't have feelings. What about the feelings for the other millions and millions of people around the globe? They want a part of the American dream too. And I think what happens is that you've got this. I heard the other day that they were talking about, well, we need to let these people come in. They're 10, 14,000. Let's vet them, and then that should be it. And it's like, if we let them in, what message and are we sending? Okay, the next caravan. It's a carousel, would never stop. And this is what people don't understand. They try to hit us on the emotional level, and then if we don't respond, everything comes out, you're a homophobe, you're a misogynist, you're anti-immigrant, you're anti-Mexican, you're anti-Honduran, you're anti-El Salvador. That's what they hit you with. So what, in terms of that messaging that you talked about, give us your sense now as to, in some of the other races other than California, where do you think, okay, this is hitting that impact on that moderate voter?
Well, I think it's had a major. Well, look, I've been looking at this, Steve Bannon, and now the president has taken this on his shoulders. We talk about the moderate voter. I think that the moderate voter is for the presidential election. We call that a swing voter, let's say. We are doing a base. Our formula is we call, Steve Bannon calls it the deplorable +1, getting out our base. We get out our base. I'm not telling you we're going to gain seats this cycle. What I'm telling you is we can stop the Democrats from gaining 24 seats. If we are able to keep all 14 seats in California, I will tell you immediately they will not get the House because they were banking on 7 or 8 of those Republican seats. So that's a fact. But generically, what the president has done overall is he has made this a threshold issue for the campaign. And now you see the Democrats don't want to talk about it. The same way they don't want to talk about impeachment, they don't want to talk about the caravan. Because what is their solution? We know what their solution is. And if this president does not continue to pound this issue, which he will, I don't think we have a chance to hold the House. So from that point of view, what I think is, I don't think that this was some plot by George Soros or anybody else to send these people here. What I think is that they decided, because they don't understand the American psyche and they don't have a sophisticated understanding of what's going on, they decided that because of what happened during the summer, that they would definitely be able to get in because of the pressure of this midterm. And they're wrong.
You are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We will be right back with our guest.
Allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America, where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. I'd like to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Florida, in Nevada, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Colorado, Wisconsin, California. Indeed, we are everywhere. We are everywhere. Our guest this segment is Sam Nunberg. Sam is an accomplished attorney as well as a political strategist, and he also served as political and public affairs advisor to President-elect Donald Trump with a focus on strategic messaging. Sam, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time. Sam, this caravan, you mentioned to Nasser, you don't think it was organized by George Soros, but it seems to me very suspicious that thousands upon thousands of people in Central America spontaneously come together to start a march to our southern border. I think it's just my belief that this was strategically planned and organized by some entity. Call it George Soros, call it the Democrat Party, whatever. But I think it was strategically planned to happen just before our midterm elections and get to our border as close as possible to Election Day. And that, but what I'm feeling that this is something that is actually backfiring on Democrats, backfiring on the left. When you link this with what the contentious confirmation hearings of Kavanaugh, when you add Kavanaugh to this, I think it's a very bad and losing strategy for Democrats. Your thoughts?
Well, the Kavanaugh hearing was was something in political history I haven't witnessed. It started out, I'll tell you from a political point of view, where I said, okay, Trump, the president nominates a milquetoast Bushy, does the safe thing, the guy will get through. But I don't think we're going to get an uptick in enthusiasm. I don't know what we really get out of this. It then goes to looking like a disaster, an absolute disaster. And make no mistake about it, had Kavanaugh not got confirmed, we would have definitely not only lost the House, but lost the Senate. This president, as opposed to any Republican president, I can tell you, George W. Bush or his father would have dumped Kavanaugh faster than Barack Obama says hope and change, right?
There's no doubt.
This president stuck by him.
Yes.
Kavanaugh did not have a good Fox News interview, but those opening statement, it changed the course, and it changed the course of history, because now, remember, one thing about Donald Trump and one thing about Mitch McConnell, one thing about the Republican Senate is they have loaded up the judiciary like we have never seen. And regardless if Donald Trump is a president for only 2 years, for only 8 years, for only 4 years, he is with America for the next 30 plus years because of all the judges we've been able to get on the bench. But what Kavanaugh did is what it really showed was the way, look, it showed the way the Democrats were, one, willing to use so-called women who were women that were allegedly abused. Let me rephrase that. They were willing to just throw those people under the bus. Allegedly, Dr. Ford, she claimed she wanted to stay confidential. She didn't want to go public. She didn't even know at the hearing, if you remember, when Chairman Grassley says, "Look, we would have interviewed you in California," and she looks at her lawyers, like her two Feinstein Clinton lawyers. She looks at them like, "What are you talking about?" Remember, they have no use for her now, do they?
No, you don't hear anything about her. In fact, she's silent. The Democrats are silent. The Me Too movement is absolutely silent. Because I think
this did a service to the Me Too movement. There's a lot of good things that are coming out of the Me Too movement. I'm not here to criticize the Me Too movement. I think that there are some issues that have to be solved. Okay, we don't go into that right now. But what this happened here, this was like a lynching. And you know what? You know what it was? It was a dress rehearsal for what the Democrats will do to Donald Trump. If they are in power. And as of all people, Lindsey Graham, he's out his cojones after he doesn't have to deal with John McCain anymore. I said it, you didn't. Lindsey Graham says, you want power? God help us. I hope you don't.
Right. I think there were three linchpin moments during that. Number one was Kavanaugh himself when he came out fighting. Number two was Lindsey Graham, taking over from Rachel Mitchell, and deciding to do his own questioning. Number 3 was Susan Collins. The statement that she made, I think she did a beautiful job in outlining all the reasons why she was voting for Kavanaugh. It was organized. It made sense. I think those 3 things, Kavanaugh, Lindsey Graham, and Susan Collins coming out like they did, really won or saved the day.
And you know what Kavanaugh really did? I think so too, is at least for now, we're always going to have to look over our backs at some of these Republicans.
Right.
But for now, we're finally the party of Trump.
Right.
I think that's what it did.
I think that was huge. I think that all the Never-Trumpers, where are they now? Where are all the Never-Trumpers now?
They're still out there.
And you saw, it was funny. I'm not here to plug my tweets, but one thing I said during this was when Kavanaugh came out, I plugged, you're watching a Bushy turn into a Trump before your eyes, and the Republican Party changing forever. And once again, I do want to say, George W. Bush, I don't care if he called people behind, he would have dumped Kavanaugh faster. So faster than he invaded Iraq. And you would have seen, we would have lost that. And now it's something we would have lost before. And these are the stakes. And that's why it's so historic that Donald Trump has made another gamble here. And the gamble is he has taken on this midterm election on his shoulders. I sat in a room after Steve Bannon left the White House. I was with some other people. I wasn't with Steve. I was with some other Republican consultants, and they know where I stand. And they were looking at probably raising $200+ million. And they said, we just need to run away from the president, run on tax cuts, and run against Nancy Pelosi. And I said, you're going to lose 80 seats. You'll lose 80 seats.
Wow.
As it stands today, it's a 50-50. Steve Bannon went on MSNBC, of all places, said in August, this is an argument, an election on impeachment. This is Donald Trump's first re-elect. After that, the Democrats started talking about impeachment. Now they don't want to talk about impeachment anymore. The difference between them and us is they can't sell what they want to do. They can't sell it. Nobody wants to buy it.
Well, what are they running on? They're running on impeachment. They're running on impeaching Kavanaugh. They're running on cutting the taxes. We've had late-night comedians beg, please, we need a depression. We need a recession. We need to crash this economy. They're willing to sacrifice their country for their own political gains. I mean, it's crazy. It's lunacy. They have nothing to run on. But when you look at what President Trump has done, when you look at what his policies have meant for this economy, how can they fight that? How can they run against it except by saying, well, we need impeachment hearings. We need to impeach the president. We need to impeach the justice. We need to crash the economy. It's crazy. It's lunacy.
Well,
but Sam, we only have a minute, and I just wanted to get your opinion.
I just want to say to your audience, you are in California,
right?
You are in New Jersey. I want to say, vote. Those 2 states are the most important states. These are presidential elections for you voters. Your House races determine the direction of this country because it's going to go one way if Nancy Pelosi is Speaker and another way if the Republicans control the House. We have never had opportunities like this. I'm in New York City. I'm going around this state. I'm flying with Steve Bannon. We were in Staten Island. He's going to Buffalo. We're going to go to Nevada. Every House district, this is a presidential election. Vote for the direction of this country, vote for the Republic, and vote to support our president, President Trump.
Steve Nunberg, the one thing that I'm very excited, I'm getting the same feeling that I got in October of 2016. And I'll tell you where it's coming from. And Nasser and I were talking about this earlier. In 2016, I'd see the president go out to a rally, and tens of thousands of people would be there. You go on the internet. When the rally was being live streamed, there would be tens of thousands of people watching on the internet. When you would see Hillary Clinton's rallies, there would be a couple of thousand people there.
Right.
Maybe a couple thousand more on the internet. I'm seeing the same thing. Sam, I'm seeing the same thing as I saw in 2016. Last night,
Absolutely.
The president was in Texas. There was 20,000 people inside the arena. 100,000 more people wanted to get in. Last night, There was over 200,000 people watching live stream on the computer. I don't know what was watching on TV, but Sam Nunberg, I'm getting that same feeling again. You know, when they were talking about the polls in 2016, they were saying, it's going to be a landslide. Hillary's going to be the next president. Donald Trump doesn't have a snowball's chance, and you know where of winning. But he won. And I'm getting the same feeling here. I wouldn't be surprised if Republicans hold the Congress, add on to the Senate. And I'll tell you, Sam, I don't know, call me crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't pick up a couple of seats in the House.
Well, I'd be very surprised on that. We got to get out and vote, but let's see.
Well, call me crazy, but you can. Sam Nunberg, we want to thank you so much.
I'll tell you one thing, we keep all the seats in California and New Jersey. We could. I'll tell you that. We could. So
Pennsylvania, New Jersey, everywhere. Sam, please tell our audience how they could follow you, follow your work. We mentioned the documentary. You're going to send us the trailer. We're going to air it here. Tell us all about everything you're up to.
So I just want to say, Trump at War by Steve Bannon. Watch it. Send it to your friends. Send it to your friends that you want to make sure to vote, your family members. Send it out to your mass email list. It is free. We want people to see it. We want people to remind people what the stakes are in this election. And that's all I really like. Trump at War, TrumpAtWar.com. The film is Trump at War by Steve Bannon. And thank you very much.
Steve Nunberg, again, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciated your time. Hope this is the first of many trips back with us.
Fine. And God bless America.
God bless America. Thank you so much. Take care and God bless. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
Buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to our show in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California. Indeed, we are everywhere. We are everywhere.
Well, it's a real privilege to introduce Craig Bannister, Communications Director and Editor for CNSnews.com. Craig is responsible for all of CNS's media relations, public relations, and marketing programs. Prior to joining CNS, he served as Communications Manager for the Intelligent Transportation Society of America. Craig has spent his career managing communications, public, media, and member relations for nonprofit organizations such as the National Automobile Dealers Association, the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies, and the Ethiopian Community Development Council. Craig, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks, Sharon.
You know, it's interesting. You've written a couple articles we wanted to talk to you about. The first one, though, is this poll that says that Americans think that the congressional Democrats are more respectful of President Trump than the media is. You know, that's an interesting thought because I don't think they're very respectful, either one of them. So it's interesting.
Well, that's what I thought this would be an interesting story. That I mean, who could possibly have more disdain for President Trump than congressional Democrats like Nancy Pelosi? And it turns out it's the national media.
Yeah, Maxine Waters is my favorite, but it's so interesting to me that people thought that was more respectful. So they're really at the bottom of the barrel, the media is, but it isn't too much greater, the respect. Talk to us a little bit about the numbers.
Yeah, well, 22% of Americans, this was a Harvard-Harris poll, registered voters that was weighted to reflect the general U.S. population, and 22% said that they felt that President Donald Trump commanded the respect of Democrats in Congress. As it turns out, I did a little bit of digging and looking at this 200-page report.
Wow.
And found that only 20% of Americans say that the media respect Trump, that Donald Trump commands the respect of the media. I think, if I'm recalling right, about 60% disagreed or strongly disagreed that that Trump was respected by the media, and 57% strongly disagreed that he was respected by Democrats in Congress.
So 20 and 22%, it's not a real big margin there of people that think he gets the respect that is due a president. When we talk about respect, I don't remember that Republicans had so much disdain or were so vitriolic towards President Obama, and certainly we didn't agree with his policies. Did they do a poll like that where they compared the respect that President Obama got from his Republican Congress folks, or are we just going to do this for the other side?
Well, I think this is, at least as far as I know, this is the first time Harvard-Harris has asked these questions. They may have done it under Obama, but if they did, I didn't see it. But it really is telling, though, at just how little respect both Democrats and the media, who are largely in the tank for Democrats, some might say just Lindsey Graham today, Senator Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, was saying he doesn't think the media are the enemy of the people, as Donald Trump has implied, at least about fake news. He said they're just the arm of the Democratic Party. So they're not the enemy of the people, but they are minions of the Democratic Party.
Well, I think that the reason that they probably didn't do that poll when Obama was the president is because it never was really a question of respect. People respected the office, whether they respected the policies of the man in the office. They certainly gave the office its due respect, and we're seeing that that is not the case here, and that's why it's even come into question. I think that's why it's even a matter of polling, trying to figure out what is the respect level, because we've seen there is no respect. I'm actually surprised that it was even 20% that said he was getting any respect, because this has been probably the most disrespectful 2 years that I've been able to witness in American history.
Well, just look at the way CNN's Jim Acosta treats President Trump in press conferences, and just the viciousness, how slanted the questions all are, appear calculated to trap the president into confessing some evil motive. You never would have seen that. Well, you didn't see it in the Obama era. National media tended to fawn over President Obama and ask extremely softball questions of him and his administration.
Well, and they still continued off of that softball type questioning, I think. You wrote another article about the Saturday Night Live still airing offensive video mocking Congressman-elect's combat injury. Talk a little bit about that, because that was almost incredible to the rest of us as Americans, that anyone would say or make a joke out of someone who's injured in the first place or handicapped in the first place, and then a war veteran. It's just unthinkable.
Well, it's unthinkable for you or I or maybe most Americans, but obviously not for Saturday Night Live. Last Saturday, on November 3rd, this Pete Davidson, who fancies himself a comedian, a cast member of Saturday Night Live, did put up a picture of Dan Crenshaw, who was running for a seat in Texas, showing Crenshaw, who is a former Navy SEAL who lost an eye to an IED explosion in Afghanistan while serving his country. Davidson put up the photo. This is before the election. Davidson put up the photo last Saturday and said that Crenshaw looked like a hitman in a porno movie. And then went about being disrespectful of his injury, saying, "Oh, well, he lost an eye or whatever." It's just incredible. Now, Davidson has been almost universally condemned for this, but as some people have said, this as Brent Bozell, the president of Media Research Center, CNSnews.com, is a division of MRC, as he said in a statement he put out on this, that never would have, doing that to a Democrat would never have gotten out of the writer's room. And even if it did, it would have been squashed and it would have been deleted. They never would have allowed this on the air. If Davidson had mocked a Democrat with a disability or especially with a veteran with a combat injury.
Well, and at the very least been fired from his job. You know, we were watching that, people being let go during the Obama years for making snide comments or just politically incorrect comments about anyone. It was, they were so sensitive to speech then, but now it seems like anything goes against anyone for any reason. We've got to take a short we've got to take a short break, Craig. I know on the other side that Rick's going to want to pick this up, and I want to hear what you have to say about just what I said. So we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and all around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America, where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. If you'd like to hear rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our website, CCRShow.com. Or if you'd like to see our TV show, go to conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Our guest this segment is Craig Bannister. He is the communications director and editor of CNSnews.com. CNS News is a division of MRC, both organizations we have terrific respect for. And I always say, we go to CNSnews.com for our news. You should go there too. Craig Bannister, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time.
Well, thanks, Rick. We were talking about the Saturday Night Live,
right,
where they put up a photo of a decorated war veteran running for Congress in Texas, who had lost an eye in the service of his country, and they were mocking his appearance and the fact that he had lost an eye. And to NBC, to Saturday Night Live, that was humor. Now, it has been this Pete Davidson, as I said, this crew member of Saturday Night Live, made these comments, did this segment mocking Dan Crenshaw's appearance, the fact that he lost an eye in service to his country. It's now almost universally condemned. But as my story points out, even after Crenshaw won election, he actually won his race. Saturday Night Live is still promoting and airing this segment on its YouTube page. It's still prominently placed, and they're promoting it.
All right. You wrote in your article about that. Still, the video remains prominent on Saturday Night Live's YouTube channel, drawing 2.5 million viewers today. I got to admit, that includes me, Craig Banisher, and I watched it because I heard the controversy, and there is a good outcome from all this, and that's Crenshaw won. He won his seat to Congress, and you, as a public relations specialist, I got to ask you, in a way, did this help him? Did this controversy help him? Did it bring attention to him, his story, and his election?
Well, it certainly exposed to a great deal of the American public the viciousness of those who opposed him in Hollywood, and how Hollywood seems willing to forego entertainment in order to push a political agenda, no matter how malicious it must be.
Right.
So I would imagine that it could only help him. Likewise, you see, with the treatment of Brett Kavanaugh during his confirmation hearing, the way the media treated him, the way that congressional Democrats treated him, and Lindsey Graham was celebrating their Senate victories. They picked up 3 seats in the midterms, and he's crediting it to what he calls, he said, it shouldn't be called the Kavanaugh effect, it should be called Kavanaugh's revenge.
Yeah.
Because these Democrats in red states, all but one, Graham says, lost. And Manchin, the one who did vote for Kavanaugh, won a very close and tightly contested race.
Right. And again, we're talking about Joe Manchin of West Virginia. He probably would not have won unless he did vote for Lindsey Graham. Your boss, Brett Bozell, has been very outspoken about this video, about Saturday Night Live. And I got to admit, I haven't watched Saturday Night Live since Eddie Murphy left there. That's, in my opinion, when it stopped being funny. And for a comedy show, I expect humor, not sarcasm, certainly not criticizing event. But Brett Kavanaugh, your boss, has come out and said, we've got to hit Saturday Night Live. We got to hit NBC where it hurts most, and that's at its sponsors.
Well, exactly. And we have begun an outreach campaign to the sponsors of that particular episode to see if they intend on continuing to sponsor this type of vitriol disguised as humor.
Right.
I'm not even sure it's disguised anymore.
It's not. It's out there, and I think the good news is the world knows this. The world knows this for what's going on. But again, and you concluded your article, I think perfectly. NBC Universal Senior Vice President for Entertainment Policy, Lauren Roseman, told CNS News, you guys at CNS News, we are not commenting when asked about this. I think that is very telling. She didn't say, well, we're sorry about this, we don't like it. She didn't say this guy's been fired. What she says is, we're not going to comment on this.
Exactly.
You know, your reaction to that?
Well, I think it is a typical PR response to not respond. And when you've been caught red-handed with something, what possible what possible good can come from commenting on something like this? As the editor who fired, there was a local reporter who left a vulgar voicemail by accident on the phone of a Republican Senate candidate. As the editor who fired this woman said, it's indefensible. And if it's indefensible, well, you can either stand up for what's right and take action, but if you're not going to do that, it's pretty much protocol to just not respond at all.
Yeah,
you can't come out and say, well, as an organization, NBC, Saturday Night Live, we think that it's perfectly acceptable and awfully darn humorous to mock disabled veterans.
I think it's pretty damn disgusting. Craig Bannister, I wanted to talk with you about the media, how the general public perceives the media's treatment towards the president. I wish everybody, in your article you wrote here, question, do you think the media has been fair or unfair to Donald Trump? 54% said fair. What are these people thinking? I mean, I wish they would have watched the president's press conference today. I wish they would have watched the actions of Jim Acosta, who just about tackled the microphone and wouldn't let it go. I mean, the media is absolutely disgusting. 54% thinks that the media has been fair to Trump. What does that make you think?
Well, it makes me think that that close to half of the country could be liberal.
Makes me think. I'll tell you what it makes me think. Makes me think 54% of the country don't follow the news. That they're very happy with their heads buried in the sand, and they are really not aware. They are really not aware of the treatment the media has been given our president. Certainly, they have not been reporting on the economy, and I think that by and large, if they see it on the alphabet networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, well, it must be the truth. And I think right there is part of the president's problem. What's your take?
Well, I agree. I think that there are a number of liberals out there who share the congressional Democrats' view that Trump is Hitler, therefore it's fair to do whatever you have to get him. And those people, I guess, relish the entertainers such as Samantha Bee and Alec Baldwin, and they actually do laugh at vicious attacks disguised very, very thinly veiled as humor.
Right.
But I also think you're right that there are a number of what I think Rush Limbaugh refers to as low information voters or news.
There you go.
Who simply they don't have the time or the inclination to do vast amounts of research on these topics, so they just accept what the liberal media feeds them. They want to get their, I mean, you see that now with social media. People want to get their news. They want to get it fast. They want it pre-digested and summarized, and because they have lives to lead. They're working all day. They've got bills to pay, and they just want it. They just want it quick. And until something like these events comes along,
right?
Not really cognizant of just how biased and just how malicious and hateful the national media can be.
All right. Craig Bannister, CNS News, MRCTV.org. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and the work at CNS News and MRC.
just go online to cnsnews.com. The best place, the quickest place is simply to go online to cnsnews.com.
That's where we go.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to the Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share. It's freedom from insurance. At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down. We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Just about wraps it up for today. I always enjoy spending this time with you, but for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.